Em,
and Lex.
two imperfect six-figure business coaches, co-founders, and friends who decided to combine our superpowers to bring to market something we wish we had when we entered the world of coaching.
A real, non-BS, intimate, and fun community built with integrity, intention, and a few glasses of wine.
In this podcast, we get real.
Real about life,
business,
relationships,
and what it really takes to find your version of success in the world of coaching. Are you ready, Lex?
I'm set, Em.
Let's coach. Lexie Smith?
Emily Mudslide Merrell, how are you?
No, that was a private conversation.
Oh, it was? Shit.
No, just kidding. But literally, shit. My child had a mudslide this morning, so that's top of the morning for you.
Anyways, how are all you listeners? Okay, you can't respond to us. This is a great way to start out. Okay, Emily, you were asking me about a course. Let's go there.
Okay. So, Lexie, you know this about me. I love investing in myself and I'll buy courses. And I find that I'm really bad at holding myself accountable when I buy a course. I'm like, right now I have two things that I've bought that are like, this is the deadline to finish. And I'm like, shit, I have to actually sit down. I'm playing it at 2 times the speed in the background and trying to do the work at the same time. So I'm curious, are you someone that prefers doing a coaching course or a course or something that's accountable and group led or human led?
I definitely have bought courses that I still have never watched in my life. I think I could, in theory, get myself to do it, but I'd have to really, really want to. And I find myself not wanting to. The few times I've tried to watch an online course, I'm like, they're taking too long to get to the point. It's very my personality. So I like succinct, get to the point. I don't need all the extra fluff. And so that's something that leans me towards I'd much rather be in an interactive human to human learning experience personally.
Me too. And it's funny because a lot of these courses have a human component to it where you can sign up on a time that works for you. And I find that really hard for me to schedule as well. I'm like, oh, the group calls are led at hours that I have something. So, and the schedule's dropped every week. And I feel like I'm more of a passive participant than an active participant. Well, in the case where I've been in group coaching programs with other people, I'm very active. I'm like, I paid money for this. I'm showing up for every call that is offered and I'm competitive, not competitive, but I feel like I'm able to propel myself forward because there's other people showing up and they're showing results. So then I want to show results too. So that being said, I just find it funny, the different learning styles of individuals.
And reflecting about this a little bit more too, when I was getting into coaching, I consumed a lot more of the kind of online course or free online materials. I was just in learning mode. As I've felt like my knowledge level has gone beyond the beginning stages, I don't anymore. Now I really want the custom tailored approach. So I think maybe there's something to be said too about the level that you're learning. Here's a good example. I sat down and watched a freaking YouTube video on how to do something for the first time in years. That's probably an exaggeration, but in a long time. And those hair clips that go in the back of your head that are trending right now? I don't know what to call them.
The claw clips.
The claw clip. I wanted to learn how to do a claw clip and I couldn't. So I found a YouTuber who had a 15-minute video, which I don't know why it was 15 minutes. That's probably also an exaggeration. But I sat down and I watched it over and over and over for probably 30 minutes trying to learn how to do it because I was such a noob. Now I would never sit down and watch the hair claw video because I know how to do it. So I think maybe also this, how bad you want it and the stage of learning you're at, maybe also.
Yeah, I'd be really curious for those listening how you consume material. So this is actually a fun one. I remember my first coaching investment, Lex, was the Marie Forleo B School program.
Did not know. Did I know you bought that? Maybe I did.
You did, but you.
I don't know. I forget things.
It was 2015, and I remember I felt like that was a huge investment for me. It was $1,500. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I've spent this. And she's wonderful. I think her program's wonderful. Her resources are wonderful. I just could not get through the videos. There was so much talking in the videos, and I'm so much like you. I'm like, I want to know straight how to do it. It's when you're cooking, I don't care about like your grandma's recipe and like the memories you spent on the beach together while you made this soup. Like I want to just know how to do the recipe. And so I really struggled with the like fluff that came before the actual learning. And I feel like I still to this day have never finished the course.
Wild. Yeah. And it's interesting too, because you'll see this. Emily and I's learning style is reflective in how we've built Ready, Set, Coach. However, we've also tried to accommodate that other people learn differently. So we do have pre-recorded modules that are very concise and to the point, but we pair that also with transcripts, homework, so it becomes interactive. And then we have the live group coaching and one-on-one. So really we're trying to hit kind of all the check marks for all the different type of learners. And this is not a this is not a promo for Ready, Set, Coach. I'm just it is relevant.
Yeah.
We've tried to accommodate.
And I realize more and more as I go through other people's programs, when they have a transcript, I'm like, yep, give me the transcript. I want to know the transcript, but I don't know. It was just something that was topical in my brain, just how I like to learn. I think I'm like I want like hits of learning. I don't want to sit down for an hour and 50 minutes to watch a video.
And one of the things that I think is the most helpful way to learn, insert definition, is through market research. So in Ready, Set, Coach, we have a whole module and 2 weeks of our program dedicated to this. And we have people who've never done market research before. We have people who have done it before. Something we want to say off the bat is market research is something that isn't a one and done. It's something that can be incredibly beneficial throughout the different phases and stages of your business. So, Emily, let's dive in. Why don't you kick us off with what are we doing market research about? What is market research?
Oh, well, great question, Lex. I think market research, first and foremost, is asking your ideal audience, ideal clients, what they want. And a lot of times as entrepreneurs, be it that you're building a brand, be it that you're building a service or a product, we're so in our head and we're like, oh, I know exactly what they want. I'm just going to build it and I'm going to build it in silence. And then when I launch it, it's going to sell out and everyone's going to love it. And I probably even shouldn't launch my website because it's going to sell out so quickly. Like I've seen these spirals happen. And so market research is really validating and testing that offer that you've been ideating in your mind, building probably in silo, and getting feedback and tweaking accordingly. We so often can make assumptions about our customer. And I think the market research can really provide light and insight. I'll just add one thing and then I'm going to throw it back to you, Lex. One of the biggest things I think people will make assumptions on is price point. And I had a conversation actually with someone in our cohort yesterday who was like, no one's going to pay for this. And that's her mindset. It's her fixed mindset that like, no one's going to pay for this because like, unless they're really rich, they're not going to pay for it. When the reality is she doesn't know that that's the reality until she asks people what they would have paid for in that same situation and, or what they would pay.
Emily, did you know that assuming makes an ass out of you and me?
Oh, my favorite little.
No,
We're destined to be friends.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, to kind of piggyback off that, again, guys, if you're listening to this, this is a coaching podcast. So market research can look very different for different types of businesses. You can really get into quantitative market research, qualitative. Quantitative means like numbers, qualitative means oral, just to overly simplify that. For coaching, one thing that we really, really suggest is pairing a little bit of, it's not necessarily qualitative or quantitative, like physical research that you can do yourself with qualitative research.
So you mean like
competitor research? Yeah. So we put competitor research kind of as a subcategory under market research. So things that we'll have our ladies do in our program is one thing, we do both. So we'll start with competitor research. We'll have them go to market and we'll have them start to look at what are the other solutions available on the market for the problem they're trying to solve. Now, big key here in how I worded that, yes, this can be another coach, but this also means if you're a health coach, is it a diet? Is it a new
Yeah.
diet? Because you're going to be competing. If your solution is lose weight, for example, you're not necessarily just going to be competing against other weight loss coaches, right?
Yeah. And I love that example and being able to talk that through. I think if you're a doula, and you're like, I want to help support people, there's classes out there by Tinyhood. There's other programs that are self-guided and a lot more affordable. So knowing what you're up against, and then also what people want. So you could also, that person that you are interviewing might have bought the Tinyhood courses, me, for example, and also wanted a doula, wanted that hands-on support.
And actually, it's a really good sign if when you go into competitor research, you see a lot of competitors, because that generally is speaking to the reality that it's a desired problem, and people are buying it. So when you're going through competitor research, one thing we have people do is really take clear notes, like take out the good old pen and paper or type notes and start to track things like, what is their messaging like? What is their tone like? What is their price point like? How are they saying they solve this problem? What does their offer suite look like? And as you start to compile all of that information, the second part is seeing, where's the hole? Where's the opportunity for me to stand out? So for example, if you're looking up business coaches and you see this, Marie Forleo is a volume coach, meaning she's going after thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and her price point is around the $1,500 mark. And this is the way she's offering things, and her personality is this. Well, then maybe you identify the opportunity, or the hole is people who want to work one-on-one, right? Or people who want a more white glove service. That's just, I mean, that's probably a bad example, but
No,
yeah.
I think that's a good example. I also want to just add to the other thing that we do in addition to the competitor research and looking for the opportunities is having people get in front of their customers. And I think this can be the biggest fear or objection, because you're essentially confessing to what you're building. Like, guys, this is what I'm building. Like, oh gosh, I'm going to get feedback all of a sudden. I'm going to get their feelings. And it's a place I'm going to go channel our inner Lexie Smith here, but get neutral and receive what is being heard and listen to what's being heard. And really, really recommend getting on a Zoom call with someone. If you guys aren't familiar with Otter AI, I thought about it because I was on a Zoom call yesterday, Lex, where the Otter AI popped in, but it can transcribe your entire meeting for you. So you can be really present. You could also be taking notes, but you can have a plugin like Otter AI that's taking notes for you and transcribing, and then you can look at the notes after the call and or watch back the video to really synthesize what you learned.
And so to kind of bridge the gap real quick, guys. So when you do competitor research, what we suggest you do, I'm just taking us back before we get to we jumped a step, I'm taking you back a step. So after competitor research, you're going to use that to audit your own offering. And then you're going to get your offering to a point where you feel like you have the Cliff Notes version, right? So this is what I offer. This is how much I'm thinking. This is the way I want to talk about it. You're going to compile that information, or this is what Emily and I have our gals do, into a set of market research questions that you will then literally take to the market and ask your ideal clients. And that's where this qualitative market research comes into play. So the competitor research is really there to inform phase 2 of market research, which is, getting uncomfy and getting real human beings on either the phone or a Zoom call to just ask the questions, right? So if we are thinking, okay, I think it'd be so cool, back to my business example, I think it's so cool to offer one-on-one business coaching. And the other thing I'm going to do that's really cool is I'm going to integrate Gene Keys in it, which is an Emily thing. And then with that, I think I'm going to price it at, $3,000, and I think it's going to be a 2-month program. Right now, we're kind of just, we're not necessarily pulling straws, but this is a lot of us thinking what people want. Now we can format that into questions and actually go ask people, is this what you want? Right.
And that's such a, thank you, Lex, for filling in the gap there. But I think it is funny because it's like a hypothesis where we have this hypothesis of how we want to solve this problem that we can feel really confident about. And then we'll take it to the to the market, which this visual cannot get out of my head of like a woman skipping with a basket to market right now. I don't know. I think of like old fashioned, like to market, to buy me some eggs. Okay.
I'm thinking of Pippi Longstocking. That's where I went.
Yeah, exactly. Like old fashioned-y, she's going grocery shopping, but like in a marketplace. But you're in this market and you're getting this feedback, and we don't want you guys just to interview one person. We want you to interview, I would say at least 5. I think 5's a good number. It's going to take some commitment. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some scheduling, but getting an overview, because myself included, I'll give an example of, I'm in the next few months, I'm going to be doing some rebranding at my business, 6 Degree Society. And I'll ask a bunch of people questions about this rebrand. And some people are going to feel really strongly about one direction of a name, and some people are going to feel really strongly about another direction. So you have to take all of that input, all of that feedback, and you have to digest it yourself and make sense of what feels right for you. You don't necessarily, just because everyone says you should do X, Y, and Z, you really don't want to do X, Y, and Z. You don't have to do X, Y, and Z, but it will inform how people are going to respond when you put that new offer, that name change out into the market.
So I'm going to pin that, and we're going to come back to that because I think that's where I want to have us close with the mindset. But before that, I'm sorry, I keep
Damn
going.
it. I'll just sit back here. You finish.
Nope. It's, guys,
I'm gonna go get my nails done, guys. Bye, Lex.
All the great, amazing information that needs to be heard. I'm rewinding a little bit.
Can
So
you guys
you've done
tell
the
that we literally, like, there's no script on this podcast. We're a conversation, and I imagine like Lexie is my sister at this point. Can you tell like the tone that she uses?
At this point, like if we can't, there's no what's the word?
Filter, facade.
Filter. There's no filter or facade. So we're going through market research, so it's very top of mind. So you've done your competitor research, you compile what you think is your offer that the market wants, and then you put it into some questions, right? So I do want to read a couple questions, and then I want to talk about where to go to find people, and then we'll wrap back up to the critical things to do once you have that information. So market research questions, I'm not going to read all of these for you guys, but I do want to give you a few just, as a present for being a listener.
Lex, how can people find out how to work with us?
Super simple. Go to readysetcoachprogram.com, link in show notes.
Here's one. Okay. So today, let's say Emily and I are on a market research call. This is a great way to set the stage on a market research call. So today we're going to talk about business coaching, insert your category. And specifically how to grow your business from 6 figures to 7-figure revenue. I don't know, guys, I'm throwing this out there. When thinking about this, when thinking about growing your business from 6 figures to 7 figures, what is one pain point or one challenge or struggle that comes to mind? Okay, so that was a question, right? And that was me really asking them one specific question. Now it's my job to stop talking and hear what they have to say, right?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. So to pull out or to help you think when you do questions, it's not like a leading question. It's something that it's a open-ended question where they can share their experiences.
And then do you want to share another question?
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite questions, but have you ever tried to solve this challenge before? If not, why? If so, how? Talk me through the outcome. So for example, let's pretend I'm the person being market research, and I could be like, yeah, I tried doing this. I bought a Marie Forleo course for $1,500 and I was really bored. And so I never finished it. And now I'm still at the same price point.
Yep. And here's where put on those active listening skills, because likely you're going to come up with questions within their answer. So for me, hearing that, I'd say, what made you bored about it?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And or what about even like, and also like, why were you attracted to Marie Forleo? Why did you purchase that? Or what led you to purchase that? At what point did you stop? Did you stop the course?
Yeah, exactly. So we'll give you one more question. We advise going into market research with a very clear I help statement.
Mm-hmm.
That is, a 2 to 3 or a 1 sentence or 2 to 3 sentence overview of what you do. So I'll use Ready Set Coach for an example here. At Ready Set Coach, we teach you how to add a coaching revenue stream to your life. Okay, so at one point in the market research process, you can say, all right, here's the problem that I solve. I help people learn to add a coaching revenue stream to their life. What does that mean to you?
I'm not sure. Okay. You know, hopefully you don't have those people, but you have people that say like, oh, that means that I can work a corporate job or have a successful business and also have a coaching revenue stream. And you guys teach me how to do it so I don't have to spend energy and time trying to figure it out while I'm working full time, because you're giving me the
And
tools.
to that point, this is such a really critical part, because if they are staring at you blank, then guys, you might not be very clear. If they come back to you and they're nailing it, then great. The chain, you've landed on messaging that resonates.
And I also think this is a great place if you guys are especially delving into the coaching world. There's a lot of different coaching terms out there, or coaching names. So we've seen like success coach, we've seen transition coach, you name it, we've probably seen it. So this is also a great place to test out your name. So if you're like, I'm a success coach who helps X, Y, and Z, someone might be like, I'm unsure. I understand your help statement, but I don't really understand success coach. And so can you elaborate on that? And that also might give you feedback on like, well, am I clear on how I'm communicating what I want to be doing by using this title? And you could tweak it accordingly.
Such a great point. So Emily, we have all these questions. Great. Where do we find people to get on these market research calls?
Oh, Lex, I think you did this beautifully when you were doing your market research. And there's a great example that we can share. And maybe you can read do you have verbatim, like what you wrote? Because it was so great.
Yeah, I can share it.
Yeah, pull it up. But so Facebook groups are great places to find people, communities, if you're in any networking communities, like digital communities. Honestly, your friends and family, if you think that your ideal audience could lie on your friends and family, asking specific invites to people is also really, really powerful. I don't know about you, Lex, but when I'm in a BCC, I feel like I can be a little bit more under the radar and I probably won't respond. But if you're emailing me directly, do you want something from me? I will be more responsive. LinkedIn, I'm posting something to the more general audience, and or again, more specific messaging. So I think what you did is such a great example. Can you share with our listeners?
Yeah. And to just kind of reframe it, you have to understand who your person is, and then go to where they are and ask, right? So here's one way that I asked. I went in at this point in my life, I was really big into Facebook groups. And so I went into very specific. So this example is for the PR bar. PR bar at that point, when I was starting my journey as a PR coach, was I'm curious if people want to learn how to do their own PR, right? So I went into a lot of small business Facebook groups, people that were looking to grow their business. And I'm going to paraphrase this because it's long, but basically I started it off with who wants a free Starbucks gift card. I'm currently refining my coaching packages because I want to make sure that I'm offering the market exactly what people want. This means that I'm looking for, now this is where you insert very specifically the type of client or type of human being you're looking for to chat with me and answer a few questions. I'm only asking for 20 minutes of your time, and in exchange, I will give you yada yada, a gift card, blah, 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 comment yes if you want to help a girl out. So essentially, let me just kind of break that down. I was very clear with who I want to talk to. I was very clear with the time limit, and I was offering something. And that's something that we really suggest that you play with. It doesn't have to be a $5 Starbucks gift card, but if these are strangers, like, it's worth you deciding, can you set aside a $50 budget and give 10 people a $5 Starbucks gift card? We tend to see a lot more people being willing to hop on that call when there's a little bit of an incentive.
And Lex, so I'm sure you got a lot of yeses to those posts. How did you pick the people that you actually spent time with for market research?
Yeah, so I then messaged them independently and went back a little bit forth and understand who they were and what their business was. So I'd say, hi, like, just, wanting to learn a little bit more about your business. Can you send along your website? And then if they did seem like a good fit, I sent them the link to hop on my calendar. And honestly, if they weren't a good fit, I said my spots were capped, and I was only talking to the first 10 people, but I was super, super appreciative for their willingness to help out. So that's like the key here too, is don't just dismiss people if they don't seem like the right fit. If they were willing to offer their time, make sure they know you're appreciative of that.
Yeah. And I think that's a great thing. Like, you host these amazing workshops, you could give them a free code to attend a workshop as a thank you for offering, or something that's a really low lift for you, but feels very gracious. And I like that you vetted the people versus just taking everyone, because to your point, like, not everyone's going to be your ideal client, and you really want to get in front of people that you could envision yourself working with.
Exactly. And so the other thing that Emily and I want to talk about is, if you're going to call out that 20-minute time commitment, honor that, honor
Yeah.
people's time, set it at the top of the call and be like, I know I've asked for 20 minutes of your time today, and I'm going to honor that. And I appreciate that. And guys, set a timer. Like, this isn't the time. It's really, if you're going to go beyond 20 minutes, do a quick pause and check in and be like, do you have time to speak any longer? Give them that out, because that's the worst. Just be a good person and respect people's time.
Yeah, we really do need to have a whole episode on time and time management and of that time, like honoring people's times, because especially as becoming moms, we're realizing when people don't show up on time, or you have to chase them down for a meeting. Or I had two people, maybe it fell off their calendar. One person was a no-show. One person I had to call her cell phone. She's like, "Do we have a meeting right now?" I'm like, oh, this is so frustrating. Anywho, yes, I think that's a really good point, Lex, is honoring the time. And then I want to ask you, did any of the market research clients become, or any market research individuals become clients?
We were really stretching my memory brains, Emily.
I know, back in the olden days.
I don't
Remember?
I don't fully remember, but what I can tell you is, during this phase of my business, some of my first clients did come through Facebook groups. So I don't remember. I'm sorry, guys. This is one of those brain moments. I don't remember. But what I can say is, we have seen other clients of ours get actual real clients from this. Just as it wasn't their intention going in, but it can happen for sure.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, or it's a win-win, in that, like, you're not only getting feedback about your program, but you're also in a way doing like a commercial for your program and giving people awareness of what you are building, so they might be more invested, might subscribe to your newsletter list, and get on board with whatever is coming down the line.
And so now I'm going to bring back the pin that Emily started, because I think this is so important. Let's say you get on these calls and you're starting to hear a theme that goes against what you were hoping to hear, or you start to hear really mixed reactions. How do you go about filtering through the information that you're hearing?
Oh, first off, get neutral, Lexie Smith. No, seriously. I think it's like when you go to your manager and they give you feedback of ways that you can improve. It is going to be something that's your baby that you're building. You're highly, highly sensitive at this point, probably, and also protective. So number one thing that you have to do and keep in mind is, don't get defensive. This isn't a time to defend your ideas. It's an opportunity to expand on your ideas, or to explain them, but not to defend them. This is also an opportunity to intake and to learn, not to, again, you're not doing like a dissertation on this and presenting it to a board. This is all information to better and enhance what you are creating. So a lot of the information you get, you're going to be like, wow, this is so helpful. I can't wait to shift my wording to encompass this. But then you're going to also get feedback that you can dismiss. So at the end, be neutral as you intake. Review your notes at the end of the 5 or 10 people that you're interviewing. You might also, in conjunction, want to send out a survey to a broader audience, and then look at the data that you've collected and be like, okay, cool. No one understands what a success coach is. Got it. I'm going to change the name of that, or articulate it a bit more. Okay, cool. Price point. Everyone has resistance of it. How can I but I really know that this is the price point I want to charge. How can I get more creative in offering more value? Maybe 4 months is too too little of time for the price point. So maybe I'll add a month, or I'll throw in this, or blah, blah, blah. So again, use it as an information gathering. Don't get defensive and sensitive, even though it's going to feel very normal too. I've felt it. Lex has felt it before. And then adjust accordingly and give yourself the grace to do it every so often.
Yeah, beautiful. Perfect. So I think that's the coolest part, right? Not the coolest, but one of the coolest parts about being your own boss and being an entrepreneur is this is the time where you're in the driver's seat. So we would advise you really do try to objectively hear what everyone's saying. But at the end of the day, to Em's point, you got to choose what sticks and what you want to toss away and not hear. Quick note on the price point thing too. If let's say you have 10 back-to-back calls and every single person is gawking at your price point, two things for you to consider. One, to Em's point, like, is there a way you can make it more accessible? But the other two are, okay, do we have a who's ideal client problem? Are we going after the right person? Are we matching our price point to our person? And then two, am I effectively communicating the value of this? Are they gawking at the price point because my messaging isn't doing the offer justice? So those are just a couple things to think about too.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I'm going to go back to Marie Forleo. So, $1,500 when I had a corporate job, that was the first big investment that wasn't my rent. And that felt like a lot. And so if someone had come to me with a $4,500 offer, I would have had a little connection. Like, I would not have felt good about that. So, I wasn't people's ideal audience for a $4,500 thing, but then down the road, I 1,000% am or was. And so, that maybe that person might not be where you're at or where you need them to be at this moment, but that doesn't mean to discourage, to write them off forever. They might be a different person.
Actually, thank you. I'm going to share one more example because I think this is really important to hear. This is a personal example. So I went through a buying process recently and the product was really what I needed. Like, it was, but when she got to the price point, so to give you a little bit more color, this was a more kind of mental health, body love, embodiment offering. It wasn't business. It was like self-love type stuff, that category. When she got to the price tag, which was $8,500, I shut it down immediately. And Emily goes, why are you shutting it down? Like, you've spent more than that on business coaching. The reality was, in my own way, I have a lot of work to do in how I assign value. And so it wasn't what I didn't want that coach to feel like is that her offer was bad. It was that I haven't done the work I need to be able to show up and be ready to buy in her category yet. So like Taylor Swift said, I am the problem, it's me.
No, but Lex, thank you for sharing that. And I think it's a really important conversation to be having, in that for business, it's a lot easier to justify spending $8,500 in your business, because then you're going to see a needle moved. Like, okay, I'm investing $8,500, but she's going to show me the system so I can make 10,000 in a second. And so for your body or for your mental health or physical, and I'd love to hear from people who are listening, who are coaches and are selling something that's more a personal problem that they're solving. It's harder to find an ROI or see or articulate an ROI. So like, yes, you could be a more body positive, confident person, but how do I monetize, or how do I articulate that in a money mind frame? And that's hard. That's a big challenge. And I'm the same way. It's harder for me to justify like investing in my personal self, even therapy. You're like, oh God, therapy, this is expensive. Cause it's about me. Well, a business, it's a whole different category.
It's a whole different category. And, I believe that coach, when we were in this buying process, I didn't like shut her down with her price point, but maybe it was you, Emily. Wouldn't it be like worth more than anything you did in business to be able to achieve that problem solved, to be able to truly feel, great? In theory, yes. But like my mindset where I'm at, it just isn't there yet. So that's another thing too. We've, in another episode on this podcast, feel free to binge, we talked about kind of how to go about finding your niche, understanding the stage of mindset that your person's at, or how evolved they are in a certain category is definitely something to keep in mind.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. Yeah. So this is going to be a quick squirrel before we end this, but it is fascinating. Also, I have friends that aren't business owners, and I'll tell them about EFT tapping or human design or all of these things that, again, they don't pertain to business. It's my own personal develop or Reiki or massages or anything that's personal development in terms of more about me as a human, not my business. And they're like, what the hell are you talking about? And so you realize that there are different levels of stages, or there's different stages that people are at in their life and their like own digging journey. And you have to navigate it accordingly. And especially as you're a coach, you'll find people when you're doing market research that are like, I have no idea what language we're talking right now.
Mm-hmm. Not everyone knows what a coach is. That's very, very, very real. So if your person is someone who is not familiar with coaches, then that's something you want to test out with your language. How can you meet them where they're at? Now we're getting into a whole nother topic, but
Yeah.
the point being, market research can help you uncover so many helpful things, from proof of concept to how to talk about something to price point to it can honestly help you figure out that maybe you aren't targeting the right person too. So it's just highly recommended by the Ready Set Coach podcast.
Today's squirrel brought to you by Ready Set Coach. I love it. Well, so
homework?
Yes, I was gonna say, what is the homework going to be?
What is the homework? The homework is going to be to do some market research. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're a new coach or you're in the development of a new program, this is a great time to do exactly what we said today. Listen to us. We know all. No, but really, do a little bit, see what you've done and see what you haven't done. So if you need to start with some competitor research, great, start there. If you want to start with some qualitative market research, great, start there. We've shared a lot of ways to go about doing that today. We just want to say, get out there and start asking.
Yeah, I think, and I will put a bonus to that too. Once you've heard this podcast and you're like, all right, guys, I'm going to do some market research, drop in the Ready Set Coach Instagram on this. We'll post a little reel about today's episode, like your ask, and maybe we can connect you to the right people.
Ooh, good one. Yeah, we might be your ideal clients. You never know.
Never know. Exactly.
Never know.
So with that, we will see you the next time
on the
Ready Set Coach
podcast.
If you're enjoying the Ready Set Coach podcast, please leave a review wherever you are listening. For more information about Ready Set Coach, visit readysetcoachprogram.com.